See, Jeremy is also here. Good.
Jeremy, good to see you. Yeah.
Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Erwin.
So, welcome everyone for this session tonight for the integral design method public space, a method that is being implemented by Amsterdam. And tonight we have two honorable speakers, Joyce, one of the team leaders there, and Mr. Richard, who is one of the sustainable experts who advised the City of Amsterdam. And tonight we're going to explain more about the history of the methods and how it evolved into the integral design method public space. Later, we will also have a visit of Mr. Agus from Andy Publisher, because Ichsan and me with our company are now launching the design method in Indonesia. Richard, I know you're short on time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself and tell the people what you want to sell.
Okay, I'm Richard Ruijtenbeek. I'm a senior advisor, circularity and energy transition, and I explain more about the tools, how we work in Amsterdam. And Joyce will go more in the deep ground. Okay.
Okay. And then we have Joyce van den Berg. Joyce, can you shortly introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Joyce van den Berg. I'm chief designer at the City of Amsterdam. I'm a landscape architect, and as Richard explained, I will bring you into the integral design methods and what are we doing with it and what is it. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you here. And Dr. Ichsan, can you please introduce yourself and your part in this?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ichsan.
Yes, hello, I'm Joyce van den Berg.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Ichsan. I used to be the circular economy advisor, but assignment was stopped last month with the Embassy of Netherlands, and now since last 2 years, I also supporting Bina Karya for circular economy, and together with Damy, we are starting up a company that focusing on the renewable energy and circularity. Thank you, Damy.
Okay, thank you, Ichsan. Richard, I give the podium to you for the introduction.
Okay. Do you see my screen, Damy, or not? I have to share.
I see your screen, but I don't see it not sharing yet.
Okay, I will go back. Just a moment. Do you see it now? Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, strange.
Now,
You'll
yeah,
share.
we see it. Now we see it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ichsan. Okay. I'm gonna tell you today in Amsterdam how we use the different tools, and what I said before, Joyce will go more about the integrale ontwerpmethode. And first, I will tell you about the ambition web, and tell you about the donut economy, and I tell you how it works and where we came from. Okay. First of all, I'm going to tell you something about the southeast of Amsterdam. We are developing in the southeast Amsterdam with a big team, also with the team of Joyce, and also with other colleagues. We developing about almost 50,000 new houses and 100,000 new residents in Amsterdam. Like every big city, a lot of people like to live here. And at total, the area is now 22 kilometers. And at the end, we'll expand it with about 50,000 houses already. And now they're living almost 90,000 people there. And we have a huge problem with carbon oxides and other things. We have to do better if we have a good environment for all these people. first, where we came from when we started with the team, and you see that here on the left, we were ranked as 12th in the world of Sustainable City Index. And what you see is that we have to do in 2018 more about the planet and the profit. You saw that we're on score 16 and 17. And the people index was already good. It was number 8. So we saw that we had to focus on the planet and profit side. Also, we did some scan with the people, and they also said, the economy is a 6, how to get there is a 5, safety is a 6, but the planet side is a 4. So you see on that side, also the people say, we want to have a better planet side, so more green, more a good environment to live in the city. And now in 2021, we rank it as the first city in the world. So from 2018 to 2021, we ranked it from number 12 to number 1. So how do we did that, and how do we do that still? Because we started in 2018, so we just had the first buildings now in this suburb. And we already won some different prizes. We won a world prize of best student and small apartments already for the first one of the buildings. And if you see what the jury and all the people say, is that they managed to combine all the different things together to make a good neighborhood for the people, where also residents and the surrounding community is good. So that's what you see, that we first in 2008 we had problems, and now we do it a little bit different in our ground development, and the people also see that. On the other hand, we won the People Prize for the apartment Me Also. So the people of the Amsterdam chose that one of the best buildings in 2021. And also something else, we built the head office of one of the banks in the Netherlands, ING, and that was also built 40,000 square meters with BREEAM outstanding. So we built in the highest standards, and we already, the first buildings already won some prizes. And also what you see is that we won a prize of a 3D system. We developed all the ground sources in the underground and the upground, how to manage that. I will show you something about the area in the southeast, what we're developing right now. Do you also see that? You see that, Damy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The same screen, right?
You see it?
No, you're still on the same screen, I think.
Okay, then I will. Okay.
Yeah, I see it, Richard.
We see
Okay.
it, Richard.
Yeah.
Okay. So here you see the.
Mine is
Yeah,
too
here.
slow.
Yeah, okay. Here you see the area. This is the whole southeast, and this is the suburb in Amstelstad, what we're now focusing on. And I will try to. Let me see if I can rerun it again. So, and here you see the area, all the new buildings. We built about, in the beginning, about 1,000 to 3,000 apartments, and now we speed up to 3,000 to 5,000 apartments every year. So the most buildings are about 500, sometimes 800 apartments there. The apartments are approximately 45 meters, but also bigger ones like on the top, like 100, 200, but also very small, about 28 square meters. So that's what we're building right now. And the whole area, this what you will see, will build an extra 50,000 houses. So we demolish the old buildings and we make higher new buildings, and in the buildings that people will live in the park. But Joyce will show that later. First, I'm going to tell you about the tools we're using in Amsterdam. It's a government-wide, it's the Ambition Web, and where the people, planet, and profit already is in it for the focusing. And the Ambition Web will help you to focus on what is important in the neighborhood and what is not good and what you have to do better. So it helps you to focus and scan what is good and what you have to focus and what you have to implement in your plan. It's worked with 12 teams and a lot of different sub-teams already. So here you have the 12 teams. And you see here number 1 into number 5, that's on this corner. And that you see, for example, energy, materials, water, surface, and ecology. And on the other half, we have 6, 7, 8, 9, that's the people one. Below here, you see space usage, quality of the space, well-being of the people, and social relevance. And the other one is profit. That's this one. You see 10, 11, and 12, how to be there and to get there, accessibility, investment in that area, and the business climate. And what you saw before is that on the planet side, so you see 1 to 5, and on the people side, you see here below, we have to focus in this area, and we did already to get a better neighborhood. Yeah. And what we also did, we involved and improved the Ambition Web with different sub-teams to focus even more and better on the different subjects in the Ambition Web of the 12 teams. If you looked in 2018, we did already a scan of the neighborhood, and what we saw is here, you see, this is the baseline, this is numbered 1, 2, and 3. 3 is you have to do most, 1 is like the baseline, and 2 is like average, you have to improve, but about average size. And then you see energy, materials, water, the use of space, the quality is on number 2, the wealth, the social equality is on number 2, but also how to get there, and all the investment has to improve really bit. If you see all this, we have to do really, really much. And normally, if everything is on 1, then your suburb is perfect. But you saw we have to do a lot. And you see here the suburbs, roads, plant, street, green, and urban lighting. If you go then to a special area, you see then it's different. Then energy, social relevance, and the space, how to use the space, and how it sees for the people, like living in a park, also have to be better. So it can be, the whole area can be different than a suburb and a project, and that we use the Ambition Web. And if you look in the donut economy, then you see all the red flags about climate change, like biodiversity, land conservancy. You see on the ecology side, that's the outline, and the inside is the social foundation, that's the people side. You see all red flags. So that's what we started in 2018. Already you see that we won prizes because we improved it with different methods. And we said we want to have a circular city, and it has to be in a healthy circular economy with affordable solutions. So not solution that cost too much money. It has to be affordable, and it has to be improve a good life for the people, and everybody wants to live in. And we always say, if you live longer, be healthier, and be happy. That's the ultimate goal for people who want to live in a city. And what we said, we want to be in 2050 totally circular. We're working already for that. I put all the different YouTubes and links for that about the plans. Because if you look in an area development, the first thing you are going to do is community building, organizing, visibility, look at the initiatives, different projects, community strength, how to the good things in the area, how you can improve it and make it better. Also look at healthy, good cities, and also to implement it, make it, build it, and also look at good interventions in the ready infrastructure and community to improve it. So not to build from scratch, but what is there and how to make it better, also with the new buildings. Also, we made an energy plan. So here on the left, that's the more industrial area, what a lot of offices have. And this is the existing already houses. And what we will do, everything we build new, that's on the left of the train, where the train is going here. On the left, we also make sure that the people from the other area can work in the other area, but also the energy we have in this area, like Damy Heezen, we bring to the old suburbs. So we're exchanging all the good and the people to the left where they can work. And you see all the different projects we do from 1 to 6 in the different areas to improve the energy transition. And we calculated it's possible to be energy neutral. So it's not only a plan, it's also thing we calculated, and we look if we do the intervention, how the carbon dioxide is getting better. We have to improve about 50% already of the existing buildings and 50% already of the current the new buildings. We have there a different master plan that's for the southeast, and what we do is we look on the youth of that area, because 35% of the youth is looking for a place to live in Amsterdam. We have a lot of people until 35 and they're still living in a home and they have to have a new house. We're looking also for safety and improving of life and how people can participate, have a good environment, have even equal opportunities and have some work there. And we do that through participation, and we do it together with other people. And we use breakthrough and adjusting policies where needed. And what we say, if we have also a social program, we say the social innovation is how to get people along to get to that energy neutral buildings and also improve the existing buildings. So we have a special program for that. Also, what we did is we look, this is the area of the Belmar, we look what kind of food, water, and building materials we have and what we can reuse to make it better. So we also did that with material flow analysis and material passports of the existing building and outer space. Also, what we did, we are now building almost all the buildings. This is from one constructor. That's all electrical gears. So no fossil fuels we use anymore, only electrical trucks, electrical where they're working, electrical small shovels, and electrical gear. So everything is electrical, and that saves a lot of bad fuels for the people to live, but also it's better because we don't use fossil fuels anymore. And also it makes a lot of noise. And the other thing is what with the existing building, we had a program at the Technical University that we built like a new skin around it with, and here you see how it works. So this is the concrete existing building. We put in like a new facade and new different like a heat pump or electrical things and everything like the installation. And then the people have a good house, because these houses are from the these houses are almost 40 years old, so they are still good to renovate. People have a good environment to live, and also this building, what you see, is energy neutral. But how we do that and how it works. So first we have the ambition web, like I said, with the planet, people, and profit, where the planet and people we improved in this area. We have the integral design method. Joyce will explain further. And that one we use in the middle to get to this circular donut economy. So the social foundation and ecological ceiling, sorry for that, will improve with all the red flags. And the one we use in the middle is the integrated design method. And that we use for the tools with a different plan. And we have also a monitor plan in place. Everything we do, we monitor with the universities how to improve and make it better, still from the scratch to the end of the program. And from a small program, if you scale up, we also do other monitoring. And we want to show to other metropolitan areas, like for example, this week, the alderman from Barcelona of building was there with our alderman to change knowledge and to make it better. So I always say we must focus and reshape our way of doing. The time of excuses is over. We can talk about different kind of fossil fuels or whatever, but now it's time for action. Otherwise, we have different and difficult climate problems and a really hard task to have a good, healthy, sustainable area for our citizens. Thank you.
Dream, think, dare, and do, right, Richard?
Yeah, exactly. Don't talk too much. Just do, and use the university and good tools to speed it up. We talk too much and we don't do too much. So, and you see in 2018, we were number 12 after 3 years. So it's from scratch. We didn't have any organization yet. We built a special project organization 2018, 19, 20. In 3 years, you can go from number 12 to number 1. If you just have the good tools and the good people with good state of mind.
Yeah, that's amazing. Richard, thank you for presenting this to us. Is there anyone in the audience that have a question for Richard at the moment? Because Richard has to leave on short term too badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry. I'm Erwin. Yeah, I have some questions to Richard.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go
okay.
ahead, Erwin.
It's a great presentation. Thank you for brought this for our attention, Richard. And my question is like this. You know, it's quite interesting because you combine. It seems like you combine the approach in the circular economy with the donut economy, which is also introduced by Kate Robert. My question is, when we are going to develop a location in the part of the city to become like a sustainable city, is there any preparations that you need to do? I mean, like a survey maybe, or you need to measuring about a certain condition, or maybe just like an infrastructure that if you're going to use the your renewable energy in this city, is there any parameter or things that need to be prepared first?
Yeah, Joyce will explain further about the facades in the outer space, so we will tell it. But what we did is we did like a scan. So what is there? And also for the energy structure, for example, we have a lot of data centers there, and the data centers can supply about 180,000 new apartments from heat. And we looked in the underground, and we have almost a similar underground like in Indonesia, and we have a really good like heat and cold network underground. If we drill with an OBUS system, we can use that really good. So we did a survey. That was one of the 3D tools you saw, and we ordering, and we saw that we have enough with the data heat. We have enough for the coming 10 years for all the new building to have sustainable heat and cold. So yes, so your answer is yes, you have to look what is already there, and also infrastructure we looked, and Joyce can explain that really better than me. We looked at the current infrastructure, but also the people who live there and what are the problems. So one of what I said, the young people that don't have a house, but the other thing, we have the area in one area with the soccer stadium of Ajax, Johan Cruyff Arena, that area, they have a lot of entertainment center. That area earns before COVID the most money per square meters. And also we have one of the best schools of the Netherlands, but also one of the baddest schools in the Netherlands. We have about 4 or 5 neighborhoods where people don't have too much money to have enough income and to eat enough. But so what we saw is, on the other hand, it's really good. On the other hand, it's really bad. So how we can mix and fuse that with the buildings, apartments we put in the neighborhood to improve that. And Joyce will really explain that every building we add, that will add for the whole suburb. So it's not just building, everything will add some different green, some different birds, some different vegetation, but also we make some shops or restaurant for people from the other side of the railway station are live and can have benefit from. So it's a long answer, but you have to do a really good survey and see what is good and what you improve, and how, if you do your city planning, put that in place. So at the end, it's like a big clockwork with all small connections, and they have to work together correctly. And we looked at that in the whole system. And Joyce will explain that further also, how we use that.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Aaron, for the good question. Aaron, to additional on Richard, is that the methods that we use here as a goal to normally we come here in Indonesia with technical solutions side by side and one by one. And what we're trying to bring now is more like the palette that when you're a painter, and then all the colors that you choose, those are the technical solutions that have to address to all the topics and themes that we use in the design method. And those are based on the 17 SDGs, and not only, for example, one of them like energy. So most of the sustainable solutions are confused with only wind energy and solar energy. But then we forget that everybody has to eat, everybody has to be having a job, everybody has to have human rights, be happy. And that's exactly the difference that Amsterdam is going to make. So Richard, thank you for your information, and I hope you have a fine Halloween day today.
Yeah, thank you. And Yeah, what we always say is we have in the Netherlands NIMBY, not in my backyard, and we also has it has to be PIMBY, please in my backyard, and that's what we're doing. But please say, please bring that, but it gives me a job and good houses. So that's the one to remember. PIMBY.
Very important.
Please in my backyard.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for being
Bye,
here.
Richard. Thank you.
Bye.
And it makes up to Joyce. Joyce.
Thank you very much.
Head designer of Amsterdam, and you're going to explain more about the integral design method public space that Richard mentioned before. So I will give the floor to you and have fun.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will share my screen. Oh no, before I share my screen, it's also nice to show you. This is the book where we're talking about, and it's quite something. And later I will share in the chat for you. So it's about these two books, the back and the front. And I will explain something to you. Let us see. How can we share the screen? Even kijken. Oh, lost my presentation. Even kijken. No, does not find my right screen. You don't see it yet, huh?
Maybe you flip your screen so it's hiding behind a page.
Yeah, now it is there.
Exactly.
Yeah, top. Good. Here we run. Thank you very much again. I will explain you about the integral design method as what we use in Amsterdam, and actually now as well using in other cities in the Netherlands and at other locations in big cities all over the world. I will shortly explain you where do we come from, where are we standing now, and where are we going. Where do we come from? We see lots of these questions of the climate changing environment, about drought, heat, too much rainfall, heavy rainfall. And what we see is we have lots of, in the Netherlands at least, and in Europe, we have lots of different kinds of regulations. So on the international level, the national level, the provincial level, and the city level, you could say. So we have to deal with all kinds of restrictions to go to a sustainable environment. The urgency is, what you see is, it's just like a spaghetti in the underground. You have lots of cables and pipes, totally disorganized, and we need to add even more. So there's a big question about that, because when we're changing to sustainable energy, at least then you will need more electricity depending on kind of warmth plan you have, but also other kinds of pipes, and instead of what we use for heating gas. So we have a lack of space in the underground below. So that is the problem. Is actually what we see is normally the public space was sort of defined as just the floor where you're walking, moving around. But actually we see it's getting red because it does not fit. And not only that it does not fit, because we need to add more energy systems, sustainable energy systems into the underground of the public space. We see as well that we have above that as connections, because as example, the 5G of internet asks as well new space, new kinds of innovations of new sanitation, asks as well space above. So everything what is in the underground has a connection with the above ground. And these are the spaces, sizes of amounts. And you see that, for instance, a WAS is much smaller than an understation. So for electricity to shift from the highest voltage to normal voltage, what goes through the streets, and what can be used in the end for the houses. But all these questions, they need to fit into the street. So you can see 1-to-1, it does not fit. So it's a sort of scale question as well. So not only the underground is a problem, but as well above the underground is a problem. So where do we stand now? Is we are seeing actually that, oh, I go back. We see that the underground is full. We have lots of questions. We want to take care of the sustainability, but that means the whole energy system. That means as well new kinds of mobility. So we're trying actually the standpoint from Amsterdam is that we're trying to facilitate the cars less and find new ways of transport where people can move around by making hubs in the cities. So small hubs, big hubs, where you can transition and change. But also about biodiversity. It's a main question. The cities, the biodiversity is mostly a question like how are we going to deal with the whole city and the livability. If we don't have biodiversity, we don't have shade because we cannot let the trees grow, as an example. And shade means avoiding heat. Well, on the left side in this profile, you'll see some examples of ambition webs, which Richard explained before. And how do we do this kind of approach is we have on all these levels, on the bigger scale level, you see that the water questions about hydrology have their own task and own scale when they're functional and financial reachable. And that means that's another kind of scale, how to deal with the underground. Another scale than flora and fauna, about environment, systems of the energy, but also the resources of making use of materials again, so with the luxury world circle economy. So all these kinds of big scales, they're not on the project scale, so that means a smaller scale, project scale. We see that all these big, large questions on the sustainable level, to make them concrete and physical, because in the end we go from the paper to outside because we want to reach our goals. We have to reach it on another kind of scale and level to make this kind of satay through all these topics. How we do this, actually we do this as a city, but we cannot do this alone. We are doing it with lots together with knowledge institutions like the TU Delft on energy level, but also on biodiversity, Naturalis, University of Wageningen. So all kinds of universities and knowledge institutions, we work together. And we show them as well our approach, and they can react and think about like also the interactions between all those topics. So what we see is on the organizational level, we're talking about not only about the public space that we define it, it's all above. So it is with the new areas for transitions, we're talking about as well the facades, the roofs, but we also talk about underneath the streets. So the definition of public space in that sense is much broader in these transition areas. And what's very important is data. Data is very important. It's connected because you can show what is the income, what's the outcome, what are we going to achieve. And this we can use for management with the contracts. Because we have the insights of the data, we exactly know when do we need to add which contract or to activate a question. So the timeline of the whole planning of bringing sustainability into cities is very important. And always remind ourselves when we touch one asset as an example, we're always part of a bigger system. So actually, although everything moves then. Well, this is another kind of scheme, like concrete on different kinds of topics, like water, area where you live in, mobility, flora, fauna, energy, materials. And what we have done is make really concrete from the highest scale, so the area scale to the public space, up to the end to the building space. What are measurements? How can you treat them? And how can you combine them? Because combining is multifunctional uses introduction. So we work with modular and parametric design. That means that we combine all these new interventions, new design ideas together to make multiply functional public space. This is again the sort of the slide, actually even not up to date, but just to give an overview with whom we're collaborating with all kinds of universities. And we actually see is, if you imagine the circle which I showed you before on all these measurements on the different scales, these are the measurements what we're talking about. So it's really about an example of a body. So how can we retreat the water, slow it down, catch it, and reuse it even again. So all kinds of different interventions of measurements, we made really concrete design proposals. So they can be really like a Lego blocks combined and plugged in, and plug in and play. This is a bit bigger, showing the bioscale. And actually, we designed it as well, or we're working on a library now, 3D. So that actually you really see how much water it can catch and amounts on which time frame, and what does it bring for shade, what does it bring for biodiversity, what brings it even in the infrastructure to reduce CO2. And this is all kinds of new interventions of bringing smart ideas into the public space. So for instance, I don't know what it is in English, but we call it in Netherlands Multiverse putconstructie. So it means you can put all kinds of energy systems of pipes connecting in the underground, and they're organized. And the interesting thing is, this is a sort of put, so you can open it and you can reach out to it, so you can add new connections into it without opening the street. So it is actually taking care of all these damages in the streets and reopening and reopening again. No, you can just enter by one point. But you can do it as well for data, electricity in a sort of tube, combine them. Because all these private companies in the Netherlands, at least, I think it's as well in the same at your country, are commercial parties. So everybody can go in their own time when you want to enter the street. So when you want to provide another data company to your house, yeah, then it needs to reach out a new cable. And this is the way with opening the street, not totally, you can organize it better. And the same is for all these other kinds of examples. So we're working on this library to work really like, yeah, you can explain it like Lego, but as well really combined with the data sets. And very important is, like on the left side, you see a circle of the time frame of assets. So it means assets below and above, ordered in time of the managing the whole life cycle. So when is something finished, or financial finished, or really finished, because that's a difference. For example, with warmth, it is in the Netherlands like the pipe can continue for 40 years, but in this underground in the west of the Netherlands, but the contract is for 30 years. And on the right side, we have organized it, the planning to above what is actually the public space, and what is below it, the public space. So all the interventions of cables and pipes which are needed underground. And then you can play with that with the planning. This is showing that it's quite behind each asset. So above the line, the horizontal line is in the street, below is underneath the street. And what you see is actually that each asset has a contract behind it. So it's not only the life cycle, but it has a contract. Because we are a city, in this case, responsible for all these kind of assets. So, and in the underground, it's even more difficult because there we are not the owners, but still we see that we have to provide, for instance, a kabelkoker or to manage that there is space in the underground. So we have to keep in mind that behind each asset, there is a contract. And you can play that again. This is showing the whole data set of all the measurements which I showed you as one example of the bioswale and the mantelbuitenconstructie, which I'm sorry, don't know how to explain that in English, but these are all the multifunctional combinations. When you combine them, and actually, you have a stronger proposition in the impact of the design. So one example I will show you from a street, the Hoge Heelweg. It's also in Southeast, where Richard in the area was showing as well the presentation. Is you see here a street which is below, above, because this is a transformation area, so it's not existing city, that I have to say. So this is a part where we are taking care that the 50,000 houses are going to be added in this area. And because we have lots of questions, especially for the heavy rainfall, that we see that the public space cannot manage the rainfall by itself all alone. So the new buildings are new possibilities for the energy systems, but also for to catch and to slow down the water and to reuse it. So the plots are taking care as well in this case. Another example, in the existing city, we're doing now a big project in the big center, in the UNESCO center of Amsterdam, and there we're working with this method as well, but we cannot say, yeah, you can catch this kind of water, you have to really do that. That is not the case. Okay, I will show you a couple of topics I will go through. So here you see energy in all highlighted in red. And here you see actually what we do with all kinds of water, so above and below the subsurface. How does the soil and the subsurface work all together? So it's all about different options and making connections. The living environment, this is in this case taking care of the shade, because actually we have lots of, even in the Netherlands, we have as well heating islands, and these heating islands are getting really a big problem because it's quite humid. And for people who are now with these summer periods, quite some elderly have big problems. So we have to take care of shade routes. Biodiversity is very important because it is the source of how a city can live and how it's possible to live as well. So we have to take care of biodiversity. And all the materials. So what we use in the as new assets, we can think about that, how to reuse it again when the life cycle is finished. Mobility, all kinds of new kinds of mobility to work on that. And the main question is, the purpose of the integral design method is to design a flexible public space which is livable. Livability is number one, to avoid lots of costs, because the street has to be opened 4 or 5 times again if you don't organize sustainability into your streets and connections to the houses, because otherwise each asset is going to take action in the street by itself. And here we show it is possible to have flexibility in the streets and of the city, and to have this livability. So where are we going? This is this is actually quite interesting. We went as well, the book went quite a lot about different cities and is now getting adapted. So it's this is clearly Paris, but also in Seoul. And we have made recently, since 1 month, a new publication. So the umbrella is the big fellow, and this is a special one about soil biodiversity. And why soil biodiversity? Because we saw in scientific observations that soil biodiversity is really a black box and is really very important to bring in climate adaptation and livability of a green city. So we're working on all kinds of new tasks. So how are we working internal with all kinds of implementation questions? We're working on the data, so on the instruments to work on that. We're working on a network, and we do it together in a city deal of public space. That means with 11 other cities in the Netherlands and 5 ministries, we work together to continue in a program of 3 years on this integral design method. If you're interested, you can look up with these QR codes, but I will share it as well in the chat with you later. Some of the publications, so you can download as well the publication. So everything is open and readable. It's also in English. So thank you very much. And if there are questions, you can contact us to this mailbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you very much. It's, so what I understand is that actually Amsterdam have to change literally every street to achieve this goal.
Yeah, correct. We have 4,800 streets, and there is a goal really on the level of the Paris agreements, saying we have to reduce CO2 before 2040. And Amsterdam has its goals a little bit sharper even, and it means that every street the next years till 2040 will be opened.
Everything will be changed.
Everything will be changed.
And that is what I understood for Richard. If I see at this presentation that there are a lot of buildings now implemented already, are adapted for the new goals, energy neutrality, water management, and of course the subsoil. I also heard that a lot of awards now for the things that you are doing together. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that's really exciting, actually. I heard a lot of those.
Yeah. No, we can as well. We worked as example. One award was about the 3D designing, and that was worldwide seen by 85,000 people all over the world. Wow. And we got the first prize of that, of designing the underground space and above, and connecting to data, so you know really what goes in, what goes out, and what is the result, because monitoring was also a question, so we really have to push it forward. So that was a big achievement as well. And of course that the public as well from the field, from architecture, is also really interested. So we were in last moment presenting as well in Venice with the book of Biodiversity City, but also in Seoul we did a big, how can you say that? We were asked as well to make with the integral design method an exposition. So, and that's quite high tech in Seoul, I can say that. So that's really cool. But you see actually everywhere it is lots of questions, and indeed with the buildings as well itself, what Richard explained as well, we have lots of awards as well going on. Yeah.
So next to that, I heard a lot about how to improve the planet and balance it with the city. I heard about Amsterdam is #1 now. If we talk about people, the human, the life experience for the people in the city. But most of the times when we hear sustainable, then we also hear cost a lot of money. And I remember that when we had a meeting with also Hans, Hans told me that using the method, especially for the underground, can save a lot of money and actually can become more profitable in a shorter period, and it doesn't have to cost more to implement. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I can explain that because what we see is if we have to open all those 4,800 streets in a couple of next years. And we see that all the different programs are taking care of their own, because you see the program of getting rid of gas in our case, and use the data heating as an example. That takes one action in the street. So if you open it and you put those pipe in and you get the other one out, you see actually there's damage in the street because the materials are shade, and there is a loss in time because people who use the streets, they cannot enter it. The logistic is really a problem. So we see that all these kind of results of achieving really sustainability is a physical action. It's always a physical action. And if you combine those physical actions, so therefore the life cycles are very important. And sometimes we push the life cycle, we say, okay, it's this time frame, but we put it there, and then we can reach out the whole street. We redesign the whole street at once, and we put everything in the street what's needed. So constructions, and therefore you can easy with just how can you say that? Open it without really opening the whole street. So that is taking an action. So you bundle it in time. So it means some of the assets, yeah, it hurts a bit, but some of them are not hurting. So actually the whole set of frame is a new financial model as well showing. So that's very important. So the integral design in working outside in the time frame brings it all that we can save, we think 30% of the costs outside.
Okay, it's very interesting.
I
saw your spaghetti. I saw your spaghetti, right? We in Indonesia, we also have the spaghetti, only we have it still above ground. So mostly, so that's very interesting because that give opportunities to adapt the infrastructure that we have now here. And Indonesia have probably a lot to learn from this. So how do you feel about that? That we're maybe gonna do this in Indonesia and bring into the design method here. What is your opinion? What do you like about that or not?
I think it's really good. I think you have as well a big advantage because some of the infrastructures are totally in another way organized, and exactly what you say, not in the underground. So actually you have an opportunity to go much faster to go into sustainability than we, because we have lots of rubbish already. So it's not that easy. Yeah, so there is a big advantage. So I think really it's fantastic, and yeah, you should push it forward. So go for it.
That's mainly the motivation that we have, and what I see, and why I wanted to support this in Indonesia is because I see, not to discredit Amsterdam, but I see the opportunity for Indonesia that instead of 20 steps backwards from your learning from Europe, we can actually get one step ahead. And meanwhile, they want to develop a new capital. There are a lot of new metropolitan assigned by the government. So if they would use these kind of methods for single projects, but also for bigger projects, if we talk simply about the ambition web, but then if we think bigger, the integral design method, then Indonesia can actually become one of the most sustainable countries in the world, faster than most of the others, because they already have this spaghetti right in the underground and mess. Thank you, Joyce, so much. Maybe Ichsan still have some questions for you, because Ichsan is our sustainable expert also for the government, and also a colleague of mine at Sustainable Energy, actually kind of my boss, but I don't want to say that too out loud. So Ichsan, Please, you witnessed Richard and Joyce. What's your opinion? Share it with us, please.
Yeah, very good presentation, Joyce. Thank you very much. I would like to show, Damy, I would like to show presentations to the audience now.
Good. Ichsan, can you put your microphone a little bit closer?
Oh, can you hear me now?
It's a little bit soft.
Is it better now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So can you see my
Yeah.
presentations?
I see a pile of plastic and spaghetti.
Yeah. I just would like to show the audience that three important things that need to be revoked in Indonesia. One is about the cable of electricity that already mentioned by Joyce. This is what happened in Indonesia. You can see that all the crowd cables, because it is not underground, but it is in some part already underground in Jakarta, but some other parts is very crowded. And if you see on the right side here, it is more crowded because it is not in Indonesia, it is in Bangladesh. I was there, and it is yeah, it's very bad that all the cables looks like this, Damy. You can see it, that it is very not organized. And then I don't know how the operators can, or the technician people can fix this one, because
I saw that Joyce was not much different, only that was underground.
yeah. And you can see that almost every year, especially in November and December, at the end of the year, that in a lot of places in Indonesia, the local governments, they do a lot of constructions, like preparing the pipes and everything, just to spend the budget of the government here. They try to working on it, and I think that's a really challenging situations, that all the budget spending only for the because not properly planned at the beginning. So the concept that prepared by the integral design that prepared by Joyce and also by Richard, I think that will bring more advantage to us, that how you can see the planning from the beginning in a proper way. Because my background, Damy, is also conceptual design, and I understand a little bit what the city concept, and at this moment I'm also focusing on the making the smart city in Bali. So the challenge when we do the e-vehicle, when we do the the changing the e-mobility, the most important thing is also the road. You have to prepare the road, the infrastructure, to be able to absorb the new technology. And you can see at the last point here, this is about the waste, especially from the municipal solid waste. But when you can see also on the marine side, there are also a lot of waste like this. I think one of the less people that think that the waste in marine in the marine is not because of the municipal solid waste from the mainland goes to the seaside, but in my opinion, it's also because of the regulation. For example, like the ship, when they have to bring all the waste from their ship to the harbor, they have to pay a lot. So most of the time, they just throw it away on the marine side. I checked this with some of the ship owner, and they also give confirmations on that. So it's not about only bringing all the waste from the mainland to the sea, but it is also from the ship itself. So that's a little bit story on Indonesia side. But regarding the integral design, that I would like also to show you what happening also in Amsterdam. Like this one. Yeah.
It's a lot of messages.
Yeah, here. Can you see it?
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. This is what happened. This is what happened in Amsterdam. But this is because of the Queen's Day. Because of the Queen's Day, you can see that all the work that have been done by Joyce and also Richard is also bring another challenge, because this is something about the culture itself. When you have the culture, when you have the technology, cannot solve everything, but you have to come to the culture itself. And this is, yeah, I've been there for 5.5 years. I see there every Queen's Day and also another festivals. So this is something that the government has to accept, I think, especially also in Amsterdam.
And then we exported it to Asia when we claimed it.
Exactly, exactly. Last one. I would like to show you that we make a social experiment, because last April, the Dutch embassy also provide the history of waste in Netherlands, and also about Amsterdam. Very old story about that, the video. But before come to that, I would like to show you about the this one about the social experiments that have been done in Indonesia.
Buy your bus ticket with plastic in Surabaya.
Sorry?
No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Yeah, let me try to work on that. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah, I see. We see a movie.
Okay. This is a social experiment. They try to throw the waste.
Yeah, you can see that in some community in Indonesia, that's happening, that they care about the waste. Even the one that remind the other guy is only the parking guy, but they care about the waste. But in some part, you can see also that it's not there yet. So the community, I think, is the key.
I know.
Is the key for the cities and also for the development. Whatever you do with the integral design on that, we need to involve the community as one of the key points there. I think that's fun for me, Damy. Thank you.
That is very important to do the culture. I mean, if I go with my son to our kampung, then my son is taught that if you throw something away, you throw it in the trash bin. And then you see when you give all the children ice cream, then all the children throw it on the floor immediately. And what my son does is he picks it up and all of it and then throw it to the trash can. And then the children are like, huh? Why you do that? Yeah, otherwise my papa get angry, right? So it's about culture and character indeed. Ichsan, do you have any questions for Joyce or remarks?
Yeah, my question is that how you can involve and bring the idea that you have been working together with Richard in this book to Indonesia. What is the best step to start with?
It's a good question. I think actually with this step, I see it as one of the first steps is first to go around. So I would advise you, when you have the translation book, to make a sort of tour, to make it spread, and actually to make it really concrete. So because the cities are responsible, but also the inhabitants. So how can you make together a city with the inhabitants? That's the main question. So maybe it starts with a sort of a lecture series, but also to invite the inhabitants. So not only on the governmental level, but also on the level of the users. And that's also going into the streets and to organize meetings, and then actually to show as well with all the parties together, how are we going to do this together? So to make it really in small steps, because we see it as well, we have to do as well small steps. If we go too fast, we're too high tech, so that does not work. So small steps, and then it is really concrete. So you can take really like say, okay, just take one street first. We do one street in the first and monitor, show it, the results, and continue and develop further. That would be my advice. So it's quite a lot of explanation, the beginning, and to find a group who's willing. So like on this side we have of the earth, we have like now Richard and I, and with a big team working together on all these topics. I can imagine that together you can organize it as well in Indonesia to find experts who are willing to work together concrete to build new streets, new parts of cities.
Yeah, it's all about mindset. It's all about implementation, and most of all, what Ichsan like to say, working with your hands, dig your holes yourself. That's very important. I think that the opportunity that I see, Ichsan, to contribute a little bit to the answer of Joyce is that this is the Amsterdam case study, meaning that this is based on what they did in Amsterdam, the thing that Richard presented before. And it started all with the Ambition Web. And what the team of Joyce did is actually they evaluated and aimed at, especially on the challenges of Amsterdam, how to become that retrofit city that is fully self-sustaining in energy, climate-proof, and also fully circular in resources. And that's, of course, a big challenge. And I can also know that I also already know that we need to do the same study here in Indonesia. So we need to get the average infrastructure. What do we have? What do we need to change? How do we need to adapt it? And then with people like Joyce and her team, and the people that work on the integral design method, we can actually evolve that into an Indonesian design method, to say it like that. And we have two levels here. One is kampung and one is city. So there's also two different approaches.
Yeah.
As we already do with Indonesia.
I'm just wondering one thing, Damy. I would like to ask the Joyce. In Indonesia, we have several ministries that sometimes they work separately. They work partially. They don't work as integrated design for the city itself. For example, the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry of Environment, and sometimes the Ministry of Energy and so on. I think that's also the challenge that you face also in Netherlands, right? But how you can overcome this?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have exactly the same. So we have all different kinds of tracks and who's responsible. They have their own resourcements even, so they go on their own track normally. They're not combined. But now, because we are in lack of space, and actually we're getting delay to reach out to these goals, which are on the level of the Paris Agreement, really hard for us. And we don't reach in time, or we're not in time yet for actually the local level achievements and ambitions. So we have a time planning problem and we have a physical problem. And because even that the companies for instance, electricity and gas, but also the water company, they cannot add their assets in the existing streets anymore. So they're really nervous because they have to connect to a house. But if you cannot put it in the street because there's no space, yeah, we're building houses because we're building now 250,000 houses. They don't have gas and they don't have electricity, or they don't have heat. Well, we cannot have that. So we are really in a state that all the asset owners as well are getting really nervous, because that awareness of that there's such a big problem in the city that we say, okay, we have to do it together. We must work together. That is the main frame. And there we will get lots of problems. They will come, but that is actually quite good, because now we're facing it and we're working on it, and we're not changing it. We're making a whole new system.
Yeah, so what you're actually saying is that by local policy, you actually oblige, of course, respectable, honoring the national policies, but then that way you oblige the stakeholders for all the contracts and all the assets in the port to collaborate with the city itself, and therefore they have no other choice than to collaborate, right? So it's actually downgrading the functionality of the contracts and the assembly of that, right? Am I correct in that? Okay, that's very interesting. I want to disturb this one a little bit because I'm going to add Mr. Pak Agus, who is here. Pak Agus is from Andy Publisher, and he wants to tell a little bit about the progress of the translation and the design of the integral design methods public space in Indonesia, or how he said, Methode Integral Design Ruang Public, as it was called in Indonesia. Welcome, Pak Agus. Selamat datang.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Dany. Hello, everyone. Introduction me, Agustinus Subardana, representing Andi Publisher Yogyakarta. We are Andi Publisher who have been asked by Mr. Dany to publish in Indonesia the integral books of public space design. We will distribution the book to bookstore and sell to all university in Indonesia and our government. This is the cover of the book. Please permission to share.
Yes, no problem. You have.
Okay.
Make your co-host.
Yeah. This cover integral method desain ruang publik.
Your progress is going very fast, Pak Agus.
Yes. Integral metode desain ruang publik.
So Andy Publishing is going to help us promote it in the universities, the governments. They
Yes.
will ask a non-profit budget for selling the hard copies, because why? They can use it for the marketing budget. As you said, Joyce, to me and Ichsan, to roll it out. That will be our vessel here. And maybe in the future, we will do a lot more. And it's an honor also to work with them. They're really, how do you call that? Enthusiastic about it. There's a whole team working on it of almost 6 people. So that's really cool. And we're now making the last step, right, Pak Agustinus?
Yes. Here is a brief description of the process we will be working on. When I returned it to Mr. Dany and I asked for permission to live, I can not follow until the end because I went to have a family event. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Dany.
Perfect. Thank you, Agus. Really, also really honored to have you here. We're going to launch. We try to aim for the end of the year. First step needs to be made. Design have to be finished. Joyce have to approve it with the team, and then we can go for it. Next to that, we will try to advocate this method with several parties. I see one of them that is very interested to work with us and with this system of ambition lab, that is Jeremy. He's also trying to push us to use that. Jeremy is part of a BUNM company that how we call that, and we're now seeing how we can bring this together for the future or not. Pak Agus, Thank you very much
Yes.
for being here.
Thank you very much.
So much, and I hope that I can make Joyce happy soon. Joyce, you have anything to say more?
Yeah, I have one. I see that there's one question for me.
Yeah,
So
from
maybe I can
Erwin.
answer.
Erwin had a
Yeah,
question about the
maybe I
waste.
can. Yeah. Thank you very much, Erwin, for this question. Indeed, you see that we say beton. That's a sort of granite for the housings. That is the biggest waste in actually developments. What we see, and actually depending on what kind of material, what comes out of the street or comes out of a building, we're recycling it. So it means on steel level, it's on the level of the whole Netherlands that we're recycling it, and it's at one position. It's nearby Amsterdam, so we are the lucky ones. The transport is not that far, but depending on different kinds of scales of matters, we also take account of, with the recycling of the materials, the distance which it has to take. So that's also very important. So it is related to size of the amount. So for instance, glass of porcelain or whatever is different than bricks and different than tiles and different than steel. So the different size of the amounts are related to the distances of the from the city. So actually you see in the Netherlands different kinds of hubs. Where are we bringing our materials to? And for instance, really concrete with the streets. Sometimes we have streets like we say from asphalt, and the asphalt itself keeps the ownership who made it. So when it's finished, the street, so and the life cycle is gone, it goes back to the old owner, and he recycles it again, and then it goes back in the street again. So we have also kinds of these contracts as well.
Yes, and to additional, very well, and additional on that, in the Netherlands, we have the environmental cost indicator that we put on the materials that we use, and one of those new indicators is that it has to be reusable, and if it's not cannot be reusable, we cannot use it anymore, because since January 2021, that's a must according to the new laws for the Paris Agreement. So that means all the cities like Amsterdam, but all the rest also have to aim on full circularity. And there are amazing techniques. Joyce already said some about the tiles. They actually can, and it sounds really revolutionary, but they can actually extract cement from the existing walls without changing the bearing capacity of the walls, and therefore you reuse that, for example. And a lot of hybrid things, put the plastic into as filling material, because then they downgrade it and then you spread the waste, and you can put it in bricks, in all kinds of building materials. But there's also a lot of technology coming to upgrade such methods so you can reuse it after. So that's in the whole Netherlands, in fact, and Amsterdam, the challenge to make that real, because you are the first ones to do that and implement the green donut economy from Kate Rayward. So that's also quite a challenge, I think.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge indeed, but we like that.
Okay, good. Well, we're almost at the end. It's a small group, but again, it's good because I like to talk about this a little bit with the people that are around us. So Joyce, you can meet them and my team a little bit. Ichsan is one of our commissioners in the company who will later push this forward. So Ichsan, your overall opinion about what you heard today, because you always heard me talk about the book, but now you have a better understanding, I think, or I hope.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm very happy to meet the team also behind that, like Joyce. I know Richard already. But my pleasure to meet you. And you're also right that you mentioned about the soil biodiversity. This is what also happening in Indonesia, that me and my friends already starting up the association for this. So we are focusing on the carbon farming. We put all the carbon on the ground to be able to increase the carbon diversity for the farmers. because in Indonesia it's quite strange that the soil become it's not very fertile anymore, so it's very difficult to grow, and there's a lot of challenge on that because of the chemical fertilizer and so on. And I think it's also good that we could learn from Netherlands that you have changing now to organic fertilizer, and that's also supporting all the inner cycle for the food chains and so on. Thank you, Joyce.
Most welcome.
You're welcome.
Is there any other question, Jeremy or Erwin? You can put your camera or microphone on if you have any questions, because it's a small group. So let's treat it like a meeting, if you are there.
Yeah, let me introduce here. Jeremy is also my friend that from Bina Karya. Bina Karya is a state-owned company, Joyce, that focusing on circular economy. They also made a book of circular economy 2 years ago. And yeah, and Jeremy also studied in Rotterdam, and yeah, and studied at Erasmus, I think, and then focusing also for the cities and urban planning. Jeremy, are you there?
Yes, Ichsan and Damy, thank you. I have a connection issue, so I'll just start with the voice. Thank you. Yeah, just a small introduction. I'm Jeremy. I work for Bina Karya. It's a state-owned consultancy company, and yeah, we are now focusing on circular economy, and we've published a small booklet concept called Circle, which is collaboration and innovation for resilience through circular economy. So that our goal is to implement the circular economy in our projects, because we are a construction and planning consultant. So that's for me. Thank you.
Sounds very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. And Jeremy, what you see here in front of you, the integral design method, that could be Circle in the future by integrating the ambition web and the experience of Indonesia. So I also thank you for being here, by the way. Time on your weekend.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for Joyce, Jeremy? Feel free.
Yeah, it's not a question actually. It's a great concept, and yeah, just want to understand more about that. So and hopefully we can really bring that and implement it here. Maybe that's just a comment from me, because yeah, because circular economy and sustainability and so on, it's a bit broad topic, and how to really bring that and implement it on the projects, that's the challenge. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference when we talk
maybe
about
Jeremy
concept.
can tell us from the urban planner perspective, because he studied in Netherlands and also understand about the urban planning in Indonesia. Maybe you can dig into this more.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I studied at Erasmus Institute for Housing and Urban Development Studies, the IHS. And talking about the urban planning, also here, as we all can see in Jakarta, for example, the planning itself, it's quite a challenge here, because there are a lot of sectors that we have to touch on, and you know, like the social aspect, the environmental aspect, and yeah, we have to integrate all of that and to really make it work. And well, from my perspective, the social and, you know, like cultural aspect, that's also a challenge that we have to really tackle on. You know, to change the perspective about the importance of sustainability and circular economy.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Damy, by the way, there is also Erwin here. Erwin based in Surabaya, and he worked for Veolia, and also quite intensive for circular economy in Indonesia. And maybe Erwin, maybe you can give some insight on this.
Sorry, I need to turn off the camera because actually in the Tulungagung, not in Surabaya, visiting my sisters. But nice to see, nice to know you all. Nice to know you, Joyce. Nice to know you, Damy. And it's really a privilege for me to be involved in this events because it's actually because yeah, since I work for Veolia, actually my passion and my attentions to the circular economy is actually flourished. And yeah, so many things. It's really insightful and really important, particularly considering about the situations that we face right now. I think Ichsan already showed the great presentations to address what is actually the main issues that is actually happening in Indonesia right now. By the way, I actually have another question to Joyce. Sorry, this question is actually quite technical. I would like to understand when we are about to design, let's say we decided that we are going to design a new place where we are going to set up the sustainable city. What would be the methodology to do that? I mean, are we just design that from the scratch and we just put some parameters in the circular economy or the donut economy or the sustainable perspective, or we also need to concern about what is actually happening or what would be the current situations and conditions that is actually placed in that area that we are going to build or to set up the new city. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Erwin, and nice to meet you. What we see is that we first analyze what is in which area going on as task, because sometimes we need more electricity in a special area than in another area, as example. So really, we first need to do a sort of analyze and first inventarization, and then analyze the whole question. So the whole set, the 12 points from the ambition web we go through, but we make it physical. So in maps, in sections, what is all the demands for the future? And what we think as well is the demand, because if we ask the company from electricity, please can you give us your demand for the future, often they don't have it. So then we have to make the calculations. So and then actually we do mostly a plus to that, because always it needs more. So that's the first step. So we collect and analyze all this material. Then we do indeed the ambition web session. So we see lots of clashes in the maps and in the profiles because it's too much. You cannot put it all together. Sorry. So this is the first thing. So we do the ambition web session with the stakeholders, so that you can organize that on different kinds of time frames and level in the process. That's quite interesting. So we reach out to the first 3 main topics for the area where we say all together, this is the biggest task for this area. And then we downgrade the next 3 on the level 2, then the next 3 on the level 1. And that's how we go down. And then we look into the multifunctional disciplinarity of the measurements which I showed. So we can actually see, okay, we put, for instance, in the street, mobility has to be number 1. We really want there quite a lot of movement going on, but we have to combine it with water. How are we going to do that? So then we can look into the measurements and try to combine it. So that's what we do. So we make a sort of, so actually it's about prioritizing all the tasks, and with multifunctional measurements, we can mostly reach out more ambitions than if we would say we put them all separate next to each other, because then you don't reach the main goal. So that's what we do. And we do that together in front with the technicians, with the people who are of the maintenance, with the inhabitants. That's how we do it. Yeah.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think we're out of questions right now. Anything to add from you, Ichsan?
No, I'm clear.
Crystal clear. Now, Joyce, thank you for being here today. The only thing that I want to add is that when the book is ready, any publisher promised me that they will have a marketing budget, meaning that we're going to do this again, maybe with the whole team of Amsterdam, including you, Hans, but also again Richard, and maybe your boss, the director of the department, and of course more people from Indonesia, because Ichsan and me are now making a lot of time for this because it's all in preparation. So thank you for being here, and I hope that we do this before December. It's really short, but I expect first quarter of 2022, but it doesn't matter how fast, as long as it's done well and good. That's the most important. So thank you for being here. I will close this session honorable with the integral design method public space movie that I steal from the open search. So I will play that, close the session with that, so everybody that's watching or later watching on YouTube understands more generally what Amsterdam is going to do. It's still an honor to work with you guys. It's an honor to promote this. From my perspective, I left to Indonesia 5 years ago with one dream: make the country of my ancestors one of the best countries in the world. And I think this way it could be actually happening in a way that is also executable and achievable. I mean, if you look at the integral design method, I'm not going to say that's going to work in Indonesia like that, but I'm going to say that if we can study that and help each other and create a method for Indonesia like Lego, and maybe combine it with a living lab online for all the desas, where we can guard all the innovation and where they can learn from each other, also city develop, I think then we're making good use of the blockchain technologies that we have now, and also help a lot of universities and new generations into the new design methods to make things more sustainable. So thank you, Joyce, for this opportunity also on my behalf. I know that already 1 year busy with this, right? Trying to get it in Indonesia.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and keep us on track indeed, and we keep in contact because it's really lovely to see how you're pushing it forward. So really great work, very good initiative.
My job, right? I want to push it forward, and Ichsan I have next to me, and he's also a doer. He studied in Eindhoven, I think, was it that? Chemical industries, yeah.
And I worked with NAM before.
NAM, but it's already old, right? It doesn't exist anymore. You're old, or no, we're the same age. Ichsan, also thank you for being here today, wasting your time, spending your time fruitfully. Anything to say from your side? No, we're done.
We're done.
Okay. Thank you for all. I'm gonna play the movie, and after that, I'm gonna end the meeting for all. So the movie was just be for the YouTube channel. And Joyce, hope to see you soon again. And I hope that Agus hurries up so we can approve the design before the end of the year, and hopefully launch at the end of the year. Jeremy and Erwin, thank you for being here also. Jeremy, I will talk to you later. Erwin, I hope to meet you soon one day, and we can discuss about this.
Hope to see Joyce in Jakarta. Joyce.
Yeah, would be great.
Yeah, Joyce also comes here, right, for the opening. So thank you all. I'm going to share the screen to the design method and then end the session. Wait, it's not there where I want it. Yeah, now it's there where I want it. Sound, and here we go.
Integral design method, public space. Over the past 2 years, a number of parties have worked on the Amstelstad case study. That has resulted in an integral design method for public space. a design method that will be further developed by the City of Amsterdam. An integral design method is needed because Amsterdam is about to undergo a major transition powered by 4 major challenges. The first is climate change, which will cause extreme weather for health diversity. Renewable, sustainable sources of energy. The aim is to use no natural gas and to possess the third, in response to the increasing scarcity of raw materials, is the ambition to create a fully circular economy in 15 years. Are needed.